You mentioned you said that it's somewhat like practicing at the gym, and then for that you need resistance. Now, in case of mindfulness, what is the resistance?
Oh, in the case of mindfulness, resistance comes up all the time because, first of all, we live very busy lives. So who has time to practice being still? To move from what we sometimes call the being mode to the, to move from what we sometimes call the doing mode to the being mode. And you think, well, I don't have time to just be still and inhabit my own experience. I've got to get things done. I've got to run around. I got train to catch. I got work to do. I've got deadlines. So one of the resistances is that we feel like now is never a good time to meditate. It's always some other time, maybe I'll be able to do it. Well, that's a form of resistance. And since now is the only moment any of us are ever alive in, if you look at your watch, every time, no matter what time it is, it's always now. So part of the resistance is met by the discipline of making the time to do it. You can't find the time. You have to make the time. You have to designate the time. And sometimes it means even getting up early so that if your life is very full, sacrifice 15 minutes of sleep and, learn how to fall awake, which is what this is, another way of saying what this is about. Another form of resistance is that when you decide to drop in and visit yourself, you'll find that the mind is totally out of control. It's like one thought after another, some of it very anxiety-driven, some of it driven by sadness, some of it driven by wanting things to be a different way. It's like, why would any human being possibly sit like this and watch one's own tortured mind? So there's a certain kind of resistance to doing it from that point of view. So it does require not just, going to the gym doesn't require just that kind of resistance to grow, but it also requires the discipline to do it in the face of the resistance. And that's where, over the years, I've come to see it as a love affair. Meditation is really a love affair with life and with what's most important in life, because sooner or later we're going to die, and as I was suggesting, the real question is, are we going to live before we die? And if we're on autopilot, we might miss some of the most important moments in our lives. You could have children and go for 10 or 20 years and not actually connect with them, not know who they are in some way, or not share who you are with them. Same with marriage, same with all sorts of relationships. So this is not a kind of luxury, the cultivation of mindfulness. In some sense, it's absolutely essential, particularly at this stage of our evolution as human beings, because life is speeding up so fast and everything is moving so fast, and the digital world is throwing everything at us, all the time. So information is infinitely available to us. And well, when is it time for us to just be who we are? So in English, we call ourselves human beings, but it would be more appropriate really to describe ourselves as human doings, because we're doing all the time, and we forget who's doing all the doing and even why. And then, as I was saying, you could drop into your grave at the end of all of this and just catch a glimpse in the last moment of like, oh my God, I missed the whole thing. Or I thought it was all about this, all about money, all about getting somewhere, all about reputation, all about certain kind of acquisition or accumulation of stuff. And now, like, I have to let go of all of that, and what do I have? I have a kind of a wake of unfortunate circumstances and failed relationships and missed opportunities. And so this is like not a luxury. It's like absolutely critical for living a satisfying life in this era. And it doesn't actually take that much time, and it doesn't take that much discipline. What it takes is love. And I've come to see this over the years, that when I take my seat like this in the morning, is where I usually do my formal practice, it's a radical act to stop, to begin the day with stillness as opposed to immediately running around. And it's a radical act of sanity to do that in the face of all the insanity that's going on in the world, all the pain, all the suffering, all the anguish, all the stress. And ultimately it's a radical act of kindness towards yourself, because you're giving yourself a moment to kind of recalibrate yourself, to re-equilibrate, to remember who you are and what's important, and to capture the present moment so that nothing has to happen next, that it's okay to just be in this moment and experience it as it is. And so that I describe as an act of love, of selfless love. It's not about getting some result from it, but of benefiting in some sense from befriending yourself in a very deep way.